When my wife sat down next to me and suggested a so-called friendly divorce, I immediately realized that there was a completely different meaning hidden behind those words. Because when a woman says friendly and divorce in the same breath, she doesn't mean kindness or gentleness. She's acting strategically. The goal is to keep you close as a safety net while she explores other options. Everything had been carefully planned in advance. Her face showed concern, and her words circled around how we had drifted apart and how she needed time and space to find herself. But the point was that she constantly emphasized, it was important for her to remain friends and that she still cared about me. The warning signs were obvious. I listened to her speech and barely held back laughter. Women don't ask for a divorce when they are happy in their marriage. The decision comes when someone else is already on their mind, or when they want freedom without the guilt of cheating. Her friendly part was an attempt to keep me on hold, in case her new experiment didn't work out. Instead of screaming or begging her to reconsider, as she probably expected, I simply surprised her. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Fine, let's do it." Her face went pale. She clearly hadn't expected such a quick and calm agreement. She immediately started backpedaling. "Wait, don't you want to talk about this more? Maybe we should try counseling?" But I was ready. If she decided to leave, she would leave. No drama, no pleading, no attempts to degrade myself for her attention. The following weeks were interesting. While we finalized the divorce process, she tried to maintain a strange presence in my life, sending messages about trivial things, suggesting coffee meetups to talk things over, even offering to help me find a new place to live. I responded briefly, sticking strictly to formalities and divorce paperwork. My calmness clearly irritated her. I didn't break. I treated the divorce like a business transaction, because that's exactly what it was. She tried to provoke emotions by commenting, "You seem very calm about all this," but I didn't give her the satisfaction. Her request for a friendly divorce revealed everything I needed to know. She wanted freedom while keeping me close at the same time. This wasn't friendship, it was manipulation. By the time the documents were signed, she was already visibly frustrated that everything was going smoothly. She constantly watched me, waiting for me to crack or beg to come back. But I just signed the papers, shook the lawyer's hand, and left. No scenes, no drama. The process was completed in 6 weeks. Clean, simple, as friendly as she wanted. But my understanding of friendship didn't include keeping in touch with someone who had just shown how little my marriage meant to her. 2 weeks after the divorce, I started moving on. While my ex was posting mysterious updates about new beginnings and finding herself, I focused on concrete things. There was a woman who had been part of our shared social circle for years. She was a friend of my ex, but we had always gotten along well at gatherings. During my marriage, I noticed she paid attention to details my wife never did. Work-related tidbits, interesting questions, genuine interest in my answers. A week after the divorce, I messaged her. Just a simple suggestion to grab coffee and talk. She replied within minutes, genuinely happy. Our conversations felt natural. She asked how I was coping, and I answered honestly. Everything was fine. Even better than fine. She nodded, then said something that caught my attention. I always thought you deserved better. She had seen my marriage from the outside and understood what I was dealing with. She noticed how my ex would ignore me in conversations or flirt with others at parties. We began meeting regularly. Coffee meetups turned into dinners, and dinners turned into long late-night conversations. She was everything my ex wasn't. Attentive, sincere, genuinely interested in building something real. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from my ex. She sent random texts. "How are you? Saw something that reminded me of you. We should meet soon." Each was an attempt to keep me available. I replied briefly, with pauses, without encouragement. She clearly believed that our friendly divorce meant staying friends. The contrast was obvious. Genuine conversations with someone who valued me versus pseudo-connection through my ex's messages. She suggested meeting for lunch, as friends, but I saw right through her intentions. About 3 weeks later, the woman I was seeing told me that my ex had been asking mutual friends what I was doing and who I was spending time with. Clearly, she was annoyed that I was no longer sharing my life. I realized the panic was starting. The friendly divorce was meant to keep me on standby while she did whatever she wanted. Meanwhile, I was building something real with someone who truly wanted to be with me. She understood the situation. Attentive, nothing surprised her. She had no intention of hiding our relationship out of any loyalty to my ex. By the end of the month, we had something real. She was smart, funny, direct about her desires. When I was with her, I felt like I was with someone who chose to be there, not just keeping me as a backup. By the 5th week, the relationship became serious. We were no longer dating casually. We were building something real. She practically moved in with me. The place felt more like home than the house I had shared with my ex for years. The difference was huge. She cooked dinner without being asked. Everything I mentioned in passing caught her interest. When I came home, she was happy because she enjoyed being with me. We decided there was no point in hiding anymore. Why, if we were doing nothing wrong? I was divorced, she was single, and we were adults making our own life choices. Our first public outing was at a local restaurant where we knew we would run into familiar faces from our social circle. She looked stunning, but most importantly, she was happy to be with me. We held hands entering, sat close at the table during dinner, behaving like the real couple we had already become. The rumors spread instantly. The next day, my phone and messaging apps were flooded with calls and messages from mutual friends. Most supported us, but some looked unsure or uncomfortable. It turned out my ex had already been telling people that we were supposedly still figuring things out and trying to stay friends. That's when I learned something interesting. Through a mutual friend, I found out that my ex had been fairly active during our month of separate living. She had been seen with at least 3 different men, including one she had been interested in during the last year of our marriage, the so-called finding herself. Now the timeline made perfect sense. Her intention with a friendly divorce was simple: to have the freedom to explore her options without feeling guilty for cheating, while keeping me on standby in case her new connections didn't work out. A classic case of having your cake and eating it too. My new girlfriend heard about it and just shook her head lightly, laughing. I could have told you, she's always like that. Wants attention from all the guys but owes no one anything. What struck me the most was how different our relationship was. With my ex, I was constantly competing for her attention and affection. With this woman, I felt chosen. She made it clear. She wanted to be with me, not out of convenience, but because she genuinely valued what we had together. She started accompanying me to more social events. She proudly introduced me to people she knew, and I did the same. No tension, no apologies, no shame. Messages from my ex started coming more frequently and with clear intent. She asked direct questions. What I was doing, who I was spending time with. When I didn't reveal details, she tried other tactics. Heard you were at that new downtown restaurant. How was it? Attempting to extract information. I continued to respond briefly, but I noticed she was starting to get nervous. Her friendly divorce wasn't producing the expected result. Instead of waiting for her attention, I was building my own life, one she no longer had a part in. My girlfriend fully understood the situation. She had been observing my ex for years and wasn't surprised by her behavior. On the contrary, she seemed amused by my ex's obvious panic as she lost control. By the end of the week, everyone in our circle knew we were together. No speculation, no doubts, no hints of hidden intentions. We were a happy, open couple, without any shame in front of my ex. The moment of truth came at a friend's birthday party. I knew my ex would be there, but I had no intention of changing plans or hiding our relationship because of her discomfort. We arrived together, and I immediately felt the gazes around us. My ex was standing at the opposite end of the room. As soon as she saw us, her face passed through 5 different expressions: shock, anger, surprise, and a fake smile she always used in her schemes. We greeted everyone, enjoying the evening. My girlfriend was natural, confident, engaged in conversations, genuinely laughing. No show, no hint of competition, just herself. My ex couldn't stay on the sidelines. She constantly found reasons to pass by, interrupt conversations, and insert herself into group discussions. I nodded politely, continuing to focus on my own company. About an hour in, she made a more active attempt. She approached us during a conversation with another couple and tried to draw attention by telling a long story about work, emphasizing her importance. My girlfriend handled it flawlessly. She listened politely, made appropriate comments, and gave no room for manipulation. I just observed. My ex was testing the dynamics, trying to determine her place in this new reality. Then came the passive-aggressive comments. "So nice to see you two together here," in that saccharine tone she always used to disguise falsehood. "You look very happy. I responded briefly, politely, without emotion. Thank you. We are direct, concise. No opening for further conversation. The evening followed the same pattern. My ex circled around, intervened, occasionally reacting too loudly, trying to become the center of attention. It looked like a desperate attempt to remind everyone she existed. The highlight came when my girlfriend went to the restroom. My ex immediately tried to engage me privately. Interesting, didn't expect to see you two together here. I replied calmly and directly. Why shouldn't we be here together? We're dating. She looked surprised. I thought you might warn me. We agreed to stay friends. At that moment, I realized, she still thought she had some claim on my life. I didn't need to report my relationship to her. We were divorced. As soon as my girlfriend returned, the conversation continued naturally, and my ex's face shifted to barely concealed irritation. She had been expecting a love triangle, but instead, she found herself as the third wheel. The rest of the evening passed the same way. My ex circled, intervened, displayed discomfort. We enjoyed each other's company, completely ignoring her presence. As we were leaving, I noticed her gaze from the other end of the room. Her face read like a puzzle she couldn't solve. The friendly divorce had given her the freedom she sought, but also me, and I was using it effectively. The real explosion came 2 weeks later at a friend's barbecue. We arrived together, comfortable among familiar faces. My ex showed up about an hour later. Her mood was different. Irritation, constant phone checking, more drinks consumed. Clearly, she was bothered by our previous public appearance. She tried to maintain politeness, but the tension was palpable. Every compliment to my girlfriend, every remark about our happiness visibly tightened her jaw. The critical moment happened while we were laughing with a small group by the pool. I wrapped my arm around my girlfriend's waist. A completely natural gesture. A moment of real intimacy between two people enjoying each other's company. Suddenly, my ex sharply approached and brazenly inserted herself into our circle. This is absurd. Her voice loud enough to pause a few nearby conversations. Everyone turned, watching her emotional outburst with surprise. My girlfriend and I exchanged a quick glance but stayed calm, without any dramatic reaction. Do you two really think this is appropriate? My ex raised her voice. Showing off your relationship like it's some kind of victory. The whole party watched. Some took out phones, expecting another scandal, but I remained composed and balanced. What exactly is inappropriate about two adults dating? I asked calmly, looking her straight in the eyes. It seemed to break the last remnants of her self-control. You're divorced, we just got divorced, and you're immediately running around with one of my friends? How is this not betraying everything we agreed on? My girlfriend leaned slightly closer, showing support, but let me lead the conversation. We agreed on a friendly divorce, I said loudly, so everyone could hear. You wanted freedom, I gave it to you. That same freedom applies to me. But we were supposed to remain friends. She nearly shouted. I paused, letting her words hang in the air, then delivered what I had been saving for this moment. Friends don't ask for a divorce to explore other options while keeping their ex-husband as a backup plan. You wanted to do whatever you wanted, with whomever you wanted. Congratulations, you got exactly what you were after. The silence was deafening. Clearly, those around us began connecting the dots and understanding the true motives behind her friendly divorce. She tried to defend herself but looked lost. That's not true, I never said. Words stumbled out, but I cut in. Your actions over the last month said it all. You were seeing multiple men while writing to me about our friendship. That's not friendship. That's keeping options open. My girlfriend squeezed my hand in support. She didn't need to say a word. Her presence said it all. My ex looked around for allies, hoping someone would side with her, but everyone stayed silent. The truth was obvious, and she looked completely unfavorable. This isn't over yet, she said, trembling, pointing at me. I responded calmly. It's actually over. You ended it when you asked for a divorce. Everything after that, your choice. With that, she abruptly grabbed her bag and left the party without saying goodbye. The crowd gradually dispersed, but the whispers had already begun. The next day, everyone in our circle knew what had happened and why. The day after the barbecue, I made final decisions to close the door on the past. My ex's public outburst revealed who she really was, and I stopped any attempts to maintain her version of friendship. First, I blocked her number and social media accounts. No more accidental "How are you?" messages or attempts to pry into my life. If she needed something important, the only path was through a lawyer. Second, I went through my contact list and removed anyone who played both sides. There were mutual friends passing information to her under the guise of supporting me. They thought they were acting diplomatically, but in reality, they were aiding her manipulation. My girlfriend supported all these decisions. She saw the drama and understood. Any contact with my ex would be toxic for our relationship and my peace of mind. Within a week, things quieted down. No desperate messages, no updates from friends about her affairs. The calm was incredible. The most important discussion became our move. My girlfriend had been offered a promotion that required relocating to another state. The idea of starting fresh in a new place appealed to both of us. We had been together for almost 2 months, and our relationship had already grown beyond mere acquaintance. We were talking about a real future, something that had been impossible in the same city where my failed marriage had unfolded. The move would put us 3 states away from the old drama. My ex could continue her search for temporary attention, but there was no way to pull me back. 2 weeks before the move, I ran into a mutual ex-friend at the supermarket. He looked uncomfortable but mentioned that my ex had been asking everyone about my plans, whether I was really going. Clearly, she realized that her safety net was disappearing for good. The friendly divorce had backfired on her. Instead of keeping me available while she experimented, she pushed me into the arms of someone who genuinely valued me. He also noted that she was struggling with the men she chose. Many of them weren't looking for anything serious, and she was learning that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I listened politely, saying nothing. Her problems were no longer mine. The moving day arrived quickly. We found a wonderful place, and both of us felt the excitement of new opportunities. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, genuine anticipation for the future. 3 months after my ex's friendly divorce, I was beginning a new chapter in life with someone who had proven she wanted to be there, not as a backup option. The lesson was simple. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them immediately. My ex valued freedom more than the marriage, and I gave her exactly that. The consequences of her choices were a problem, not mine. As we drove toward our new life, my girlfriend took my hand. "Any regrets?" she asked with a smile. I looked at her, then at the road ahead, and answered honestly, "None at all."